friends, welcome to this free Figma course for complete beginners. My name is Ines, I'm a principal product designer and a hiring manager with 16 years of experience. If you've missed the previous lessons of this course, go to my YouTube channel and watch them. Today's lesson is about animations. We already had a lesson on prototyping in Figma. I highly recommend you to watch it to keep up with what we're going to discuss today, because today our focus will be solely on the interactions and animations and what settings can we use to make our designs pop. Without further ado, let's go to Figma and start designing. Okay, we have an interaction in our prototype created, and now let's focus on this pop-up. Right now the animation between the screens is set to instant. In the previous lesson we had discussed that it might not look really good. Let's see how it looks and verify that. So you see the animation is really instant. There is nothing going on between me clicking on the object and us landing on the next page. In theory, our users can understand what's going on because the interaction here is super simple and straightforward. But if we add some animation, we can change the perception of the navigation. Let's see how it works. Now, I want to change the interaction between objects from instant to the next one is dissolve. And now when I click on the designs, the next screen appears gradually from being fully transparent to being visible. It might not be exactly what we want here for these designs, but I just want you to demonstrate all of the options. Now, the panel here has also changed, because for the instant animation we obviously have no settings to control. Here we have more options. The first option is called curve, and what this setting does is that it controls how the object appears on the screen, with what speed. If we set it to linear, then the speed with which the object will change is going to be consistent on all of the distance. Actually, we do not really use the linear curve that often because it does not really look good. But for the dissolve animation, it is not so visible how those curves work. But let's try it out. Let's choose something more exciting, like a bouncy curve, and let's see how it's gonna work. I don't think it's gonna look good, and yes, it does not, but you can see here in the preview how it is intended to work. So usually the most useful options are these ones, because this way we might smooth the animation a bit as opposed to being completely linear and really abrupt. It's again not so visible for the dissolve animation. Let's move on to the next setting and discuss the curve on some other interactions. The next setting that we can control is the timing, and the timing is set here in milliseconds. It might not look that intuitive, but you will crack this down. So 300 is the basic setting that Figma recommends. This is the speed that you can see. In my opinion, 300 is almost always too slow. The animation looks, in my opinion, like this is lagging. So what I usually do, especially for the dissolve animation, is that I reduce the duration, because I just like it more this way. I feel that the interface looks more responsive and fast. Let's move on and discuss the smart animation. I have touched upon that in the previous lesson. So smart animation will only work when the layers are named properly. I actually don't have the proper layer names for these particular screens, but also in this animation we don't have objects that consistently stay on the pages. This is where I think the smart animation is most useful. We had a use case for that in the previous lesson, so watch it if you want to see how the smart animation works. For this particular use case, it's not gonna work anyways, even if we name our layers properly. So you see in this particular scenario, the smart animation defaults to the dissolve interaction, which is not what we want. Let's discuss the next options that are a bit more exciting. So the move-in animation. In my opinion, it works the best for this type of the interaction with this particular use case, because in this particular interaction, the second screen will appear from the right, which looks intuitive. And we can also go back in the same manner, which works okay. But you see right now the duration is super fast. So it's a matter of the taste and your designer's eye, but here I would prefer to make it slower. So this way works fine. So of course you can change the direction. The screen can appear from the right hand side. You see from the top. Let's see how it looks from the bottom as well. But of course, logically for us, when it appears from the right-hand side corner, it's easy. The same settings here with the curve is set by default. And by using this interaction, we can actually try to spot the difference between different curves. So ease in we have just seen. Let's see how the ease out works. So it's actually kinda hard to spot the difference if your eye is not yet trained. But the idea is that animation is actually a curve. That's why this setting is called so. And if we set it to the custom curve, you can see the idea. So you can control the curve and you will be controlling the animation. It is a bit of an unusual concept if you've never tried, but let's play with this curve and see how the animation will change. So the linear curve is the most basic one, but at the same time the less excited. I actually made this an accidental change, so let's get it back and set it to the proper linear curve. So as I said, nothing exciting, a very linear interaction. Now if we change the curve, like that, for example, we can spot that the animation has changed as well. Try to be really precise and see the difference. Now, animation starts a bit slower, then it speeds up, and then it is slowing down again. This is the idea of the curves. Now, if we will change it like that, for example, then animation will start really fast and then it will slow down. And now let's see if we change it like that, what will happen. Okay, now the animation is like too bumpy, I don't like it. So if we ease it out, then you see it works a different way. It starts really fast, then it slows down, and then it speeds up again. So this is how the curve works. You can play with that. You can use also the default settings. So see, it's like really weird. Sometimes it's not what we want, but at the same time, you can be really precise with the movement of the objects if you get this idea. I don't often use the custom curve setting. I usually default to the ease in, ease out, and in back and things like that. And I like that Figma has this preview where you can understand if that's something that you want. I will include the link in the video description to a website where you will find all the easing options. And in case you will forget how they look and if this preview is not working well for you, you can always check it out on this website. This is also what I use because I don't really remember them by heart. One thing to mention here is that you can also make the animation bouncy. You can have a slight bounce, like here is out back, because what will happen is that the object will reach out the end and then get a bit back and then finish the movement. We can also make it like really bouncy, like that. And it's not something that we often use in the UI design, but if you are animating like, I don't know, illustrations or some objects, you want to make them really look fun, this is what you can try. For our situation, of course, it's not gonna work. It's gonna look really weird, and especially the background is not working well. By the way, why the background is not working well here is that because we said to Figma, animate matching layers. And because I did not name the layers properly here for this animation, Figma assumes that the background is the similar background both in the first screen and in the second one. To fix this, we can either switch off this checkbox and now Figma will not try to animate matching layers, or we can change the names of these layers and then it's gonna be the background number 1, the background number 2, for example. So this is how animation works. I really like this part of Figma because it is very playful, and once you get used to different curves and animation settings, you can realize almost anything in Figma. Let's move on and review the rest of the options. So together with move in, we have the move out option. Let's also choose a less unpredictable curve. So move out is when the object is moving out of the screen. For us, it's not gonna work at all, I would say, because like this way it works really weird. But maybe it is something that you want as well, so could work. But see how it is different from the move in option. The settings that we might have are the same, so we can change the direction. This is also gonna look okay. And we can change the duration and the curve. The next option, which is a bit similar to move in, it is push. It's when we push the screen out of the view. So right now, instead of the second screen appearing on the top of the first, it is literally pushing it out of the view. In my opinion, it is a decent option for this particular use case. I might consider using that. The options are again the same. We can push things out of the view from all of the sides. The next one is slide in, and try to spot the difference here. With the slide in option, The second screen appears on the top of the first, but at the same time, the first screen is pushed out a bit out of the view. I really like this animation. Let's see how it works. I think it's very intuitive, very nice, and many applications use this type of animation for this particular interaction. So in a real case scenario, I think that would be my choice for this particular use case, unless we have some other guidelines in our design system. And then the same idea with the slide out. Also, it's not gonna work that elegantly for this particular scenario, but could work for the reverse option, for example. By the way, just a reminder that you see we are changing the setting in only one arrow only for the interaction between the screen number 1 and screen number 2, but if you are being attentive, you see that the animation also changes for the back option. This is because I have set the reversed animation as the action back. This way the animation is going to play in reverse, which is really convenient. Other option is that you can also set it as navigate to or drag the arrow to the right screen, but then you will have to define the reverse animation manually here. The good possibility that you will have in this scenario is that you might change the animation for the reverse action. Sometimes it is also necessary, but I like that Figma has this time-saving option where we can set it just as play back. And that was it for today. I hope you liked this lesson and now you know how to animate in Figma. Really spend some time and play with curves to understand how they work, and check out the link in the video description for some helpful examples. And if you plan to continue learning Figma, hit the subscribe button down below and click the bell. This way you will get a notification when a new lesson comes out. And I see you next time.